am that man, your man, the illustrious tour guide Cole Johnson. And on this episode, we're going to touch on hockey, baseball, a little bit of football, and definitely a lot of basketball. And I think we have a few choice words to say to a certain commissioner, but that's for later. For now, let's get to the headlines. All right, we start actually in baseball, and somebody stop or hose down Shohei Ohtani, please. If he couldn't do anything other worldly before, he has become the first American League pitcher in 60 years to hit 2 homers and strike out 10 batters in the same game. And in that game, he led the Angels past the White Sox 4-2 last night in his latest of, oh my gosh, performances. Now, he already leads the majors with 28 homers. He hit solo shots in the first and 7th innings. And on the mound, he struck out 10 in a 6 and a 3rd inning performance. The last player that did this was Pedro Ramos, July of 63, and it came in a nightcap of a doubleheader. This guy does it in 1 game, not 2. Well, I was going to say this, and I had this ready before the MLB free agent period ends, trade deadline ends, I'm sorry. I had it ready. I'd said, you've done all you could with Shohei Ohtani. Now he needs to be on a contender. Well, now I could rip that up and say, if you deal him now, Angels, you're stupid, because that is your ticket. Forget Mike Trout, forget everybody else. Shohei Ohtani is your man. And if he can pitch and hit your way to the playoffs, keep him. And now you have put a team around him that is good enough to where they can contend. So now you have to keep him and you have to build around him, because he's not getting any younger. And you got more of these feats to have done in Anaheim. Now, switching to the gridiron. Okay, what are you doing, Brandon? Good Lord. I'm sorry. Look, Brandon Graham, what are you doing? What are you doing, man? All right, so 4.5 months passed when this game was played. The Chiefs were able to neutralize the dominant Eagles defense en route to a Super Bowl 57 win. But if you keep asking Mr. Graham, he keeps coming out the side of his mouth, and he says that the team that has Patrick Mahomes at quarterback and Travis Kelce at tight end got lucky. Now, the Eagles came into the championship game with the best defense in the league, in getting 78 sacks on the year, but they could not record a single one in the Super Bowl because of a slippery turf. Oh, there was grass, but it was still slippery. 4 months later, the defensive end of the Eagles keeps saying that it wasn't the Chiefs' offensive line that halted them, yet it was the field. Goodness gracious. So he went on to say in this, good Lord, quote, "You need that traction to be able to get off the block, and we were slipping a lot. I don't make excuses. I just know that that's what was being talked about. Us trying to get out of our own head a little bit too. I'm telling you, that old line, they got blessed. I'll say that." Good Lord. Close quote. Brandon, son. You're saying that you don't make excuses. What is that? What is we were slipping a lot, and because of that, the O-line of the Chiefs got blessed? That's not an excuse? Son, the game is over. 38-35, Eagles took an L to the Chiefs. Deal with it. Look, great game, great performance, and you had a great year, but you have to turn the page. And if you want to redeem yourself, just say that was the Chiefs' night, and then pray you get them again and have a different say in the matter. But don't give these trite excuses saying, "Well, yeah, hey, if the field wasn't slippery, then it means the Eagles got hosed or the Chiefs got blessed." Well, you know what? That same slippery field, the Chiefs played on it. Guess who must have adjusted to it better? Don't come like that, Brandon. Please, son. Please don't come like that. Goodness gracious. Staying on the gridiron. And this is actually good news. Davante Adams, the Raiders, formerly of the Packers wide receiver, has charges dropped against him. Now, the prosecutors in Kansas City decided to drop that misdemeanor assault charge that took place in Arrowhead Stadium against the Chiefs this past October. Now, it showed that Adams showed the credentialed freelance photographer after a Monday Night Football game was over. The Chiefs won that game 30-29, and as a result, Adams left the playing field, headed for the locker room, and the cameras captured Adams shoving the photographer, who was identified, and I will not mention his name, to the ground. A civil suit against Adams is still not resolved, and that photographer said he got whiplash, a headache, and a possible minor concussion from the shove. So it looks like the legal troubles are not over for Mr. Adams, but at least it's not a criminal charge that will be brought against him. So good news for that. I'm happy for him, and I hope that he can take this and have this be a learning lesson. I get that you can get heated and emotions can run high, but you have to have a calm head on your shoulders. And if you don't, you might lose some money, and you still might lose some money in regards to this situation. But kudos to you, Mr. Adams. You get away. I was going to say get away. That's the wrong choice of words. You dodge criminal charges in this. I'm happy for you. From the gridiron to the ice, and the NHL, before their draft comes up, their salary cap goes up. That's right. The NHL salary cap is getting another modest increase. It's going up $1 million to now $83.5 million. The league and NHL Players Association announced the cap number for the 2023-24 seasons on Wednesday, and it's the second consecutive season the cap went up by $1 million after staying flat the previous two seasons. Now, this small increase was the recommendation made last week to the league's board of governors. General managers were informed of the expected decision earlier this week. The cap floor for the 2024 season will be $61.7 million. Now, for those who probably will say, okay, that's just numbers, it doesn't really matter. If the salary cap for players goes up, that normally means the league is healthy in terms of finances. So it's a win-win. It's a win for the league, it's a win for the owners, it's a win for the players. And that's what all parties want to see. They want to see that number go up because it means more people will be more excited. And yes, I know $1 million a team, that's not really all that much in the realm of how athletic finances goes, but any increase is a good one, especially with a league as hockey. I should say the league such as the NHL, where they came this close, and I do mean this close, to being swallowed up whole. So congrats. You all have done a wonderful job. I'm really happy for you, and I hope you can continue this stint. Back to the gridiron, and DeMaurice Smith is making way for another executive director of the NFL Players Association.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a special report from Cole Sportz.
I was ahead of you, Mr. McCarthy. This just into the Cole Sportz news desk. The first historically black college and university, Tennessee State University, is going to field a hockey team. That's right. This was announced earlier today, as of this recording. that they were adding a club men's hockey team, and they're looking forward to actually adding a women's team too. Now, this historically makes the first one to do so and introduce a college hockey program in its coffers. Now, the Nashville-based school said that the men's team will start play as the club next year. Now, well, there's no timetable that's given, but TSU or Tennessee State says that its goal is to eventually field a hockey team, both men's and women's, in the Division I realm. Now, the president of the university, Glenda Glover, she had this to say about the matter. Quote, bringing ice hockey to Tennessee State University is part of our continued commitment to provide our students with new opportunities and to broaden new interests in areas where they have traditionally limited or no access. We appreciate our ongoing partnership with the Nashville Predators, which has played a pivotal role in our decision to pursue this historic undertaking of starting an ice hockey program at TSU, and the first for an HBCU. Close quote. Now, we will follow the proceedings of how things go, with TSU being the first historically Black college and university to field a college ice hockey team.
This has been a special report from Cole Sportz. Now, back to your regularly scheduled programming, already in progress.
They're the wackiest labor organization in all of professional sports. They need to do something. Heck, if they name nobody as the executive director of the NFLPA, they will be better than the ones that have served it in its spot. So I would be happy that DeMaurice Smith is gone, and now there's going to be a successor to him. But the labor union is absolutely weak. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go on my soapbox there. And that concludes headlines. All right, we'll take a pause for the cause, and when we come back, Major League Baseball wants to reduce their games. They want to reduce the schedule. Come on back.
You have to learn to live with yourself before you can make a commitment of yourself to someone else.
When you go to something that's already structured, like the church, I don't need to go in there thinking I'm the pastor. It's like already one set up, you know what I'm saying?
It just had everything, but I learned, you know what I'm saying? Everything I did, I learned from.
So we look forward to seeing you same time, same place. Know that we love you, God loves you more. Continue to stay safe, do the right thing, stay out of trouble.
Conversation that informs a community. Brothers of Legacy. Every weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. Quinn.
Moment of clarity. I haven't watched BET in years.
KP.
Drake needs to come back with another triple platinum album.
E. Digger.
And then you had Ray J. Like, I can't stand that River Cricket.
The Guru.
Okay, the level of crack she's smoking, I don't want it.
BS3 Network proudly presents the Knucklehead Chronicles podcast, where from card tips to hot topics to meep of the week, anything goes. Live every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Central.
Welcome back. Cole Johnson, Cole Sportz, and I just have bad feelings about the MLB commissioner. But before I touch on him, let's go to the VIP zone. We will visit this place momentarily because it is the most important aspect of the show. And on live performances and live broadcasts and telecasts, if you are in the comment section and you give me a really good witty comment or a strong and factual one, your quote will be the title in this episode on Cole Sportz, because the VIPs matter. Speaking of VIPs, the one who is the one half and in charge of the No Credentials Required podcast or telecast himself, Ryan McCarthy, he says, sports talk that's sassy and classy. Cole Sportz with the Z, with apologies to West Indies. And he wanted to make sure that I was abreast of things. So he says, breaking news to start the show. Tennessee State announces that they will be the first HBCU to start a hockey program. They'll start as a club in 2024 with the goal in mind to become a member of Division I's hockey's men's and women's program. Yeah, I read that. I said I have to include that in the show. So that is great news, and it's wonderful to see history, get history witnessed, and see it being made, and basically overturning stereotypes right, left, and center. Snowman, my man, who is one half of Snowman in the Morning with me, he says, "Hey, Snowman, checking in. Good show on the this morning, and good show this afternoon with the Brian Snell show." He actually is also the point person of that one as well. Cool McCain, Eagles elite and playmaker sports productions extraordinaire, checking in. Also play callers as well. He's also an Eagles fan, so he says, "Look, Cole, that was a fact." Talking about Brandon Graham, that was a fact. And he was asked about it. Now, that's why I didn't put him as dolt of the week, because it was a fact. So it wasn't that I felt he was all out of pocket in what he said. Like, oh, come on, you're wrong. No. He was right. My issue though with Brandon, and yes, look, it was truthful. That track was slippery. There's no question. The groundskeeper wet that field far too much, and it did not get enough time to dry. And they should know better than that. So, and the messed up part is they're supposed to be the best of the best, and you can't have a track that slippery. I'm coming from the standpoint of, and I'm just basically putting on my own cleats, because since I play too, that's how I feel. No excuses. To me, be like, yeah, the track was slippery. You know what? It sucks. It wasn't our best night, but you know what? We still came up on the short end. The better team won. I would like to not say that. I would not like to say that. I want to think that we are, but unfortunately, on that night, the Chiefs were. Sucks for me, but that's just the facts. Wet track or dry track, they won. That's what I'm talking about. No excuses. No excuses. That out the door. That's what I mean. Not saying he wasn't factual. It's just, that's just a bad look. Ryan says, look, the salary cap, talking about the NHL. The salary cap increase was probably a good reason why the Devils didn't announce that contract extension of Timo Meier until today. Yeah. Victor Locke, VLOC83, or Vicala, he says, good afternoon to the genius EP or executive producer, Cole Sportz. With the Z. Cool, laughing his butt off. And he says, look, we'll just have to get back and win. That's what I'm talking about. And that's all I'm saying, bro. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that Graham was wrong in what he said. I'm like, no. Just let that lie. Just think ahead, and just think in 8 months, your team will be back in there. Your team, to me, should be the front runners of the NFC to get back there, because I don't see a team in the NFC that can challenge you, and I barely see one or two teams that can challenge you still from the AFC when you get to the Super Bowl. So that's just the way I look at it. So yeah, no malice, bro. It's just sour grapes. Like let that sleeping dog glide. That's where I was coming from. Great dialogue. I love intelligent sports fans. That's what we have here. That's why the VIP zone is the most important aspect of Cole Sportz, because of wonderful, intelligent, intellectual fans like you. One who I would love to say the same, but I think he lacks in the intelligence department, Rob Manfred. And why am I saying this? Well, let me just get on to it. Forget the particulars. Let's just send the email right now. Email Major League Baseball. CC Rob Manfred, MLB Commissioner. Subject of email. Why? Body of email. So let me get this straight, Mr. Manfred. Because MLB, or Major League Baseball, is having such success overseas, it's making you think something stupid. Well, you don't need that to have you think something stupid. No, but this is something stupid that you're thinking about. Now you are pondering if you want to reduce the regular season schedule from 162 games to 154 so you could accommodate more games being played outside of the United States and Canada. Look, before I even get further into this, let me give you my answer right now.
No!
So he goes onward. The Cubs and the Cardinals last week, they split their 2-game series this past weekend in London, and it drew rave reviews and sellout crowds. Now, in the midst of that series, 2 games I may add, Mr. Manfred had this to say about it all. Quote, there are things that could be done in the schedule in order to create more window of an opportunity to play here. Talking about London. There's been conversation over the years about 154 instead of 162 in games. That would be an easy alternative. Close quote. An easy alternative, huh, Mr. Manfred? An easy alternative.
Come on!
It's not an easy alternative. Why would you want to upset your season by midway through it, have teams travel halfway across the world to play a game? I mean, this is just as stupid as the NBA wanting to have a mid-season tournament competition. Why? The regular season is a tournament competition. It just goes 6 months long. Why would you want to just simply slot out a week or two to play a tournament that doesn't matter? Now, I get that if you want to do this in the preseason, fine. But I know in places like England and in other places, like Germany or France, it would be a little more difficult to do that in March because it's cold there. Now, you could almost say the same thing about Tokyo. However, you could do that there because they have a huge dome stadium. But is it that important for you to play Major League Baseball in Europe or even in Asia? I mean, to do it in the regular season? And this has been in 162 games. It's been a thing for the last 62. Now going on this year being the 63rd season that we have played a 162 game schedule. And next season, we had 2 National League teams go. This year, we'll have 2 more National League teams go next season in the Phillies and the Mets. And the game is scheduled for even earlier in June, 8th and 9th. Now, MLB says the idea of playing these games outside the States and Canada, it's to continue MLB setting its sights on broader horizons like Paris, like Tokyo, like Mexico City. in the next few years. Manfred went on to actually describe it, saying the following, quote, "We like to start the season idea because it does give you flexibility in spring training. It gives players time to recover after travel. Absolutely necessary going to Asia. We see Europe differently. The flight is not all that much worse than east to west coast in the United States that we do all the time. We have to play here at a point in time when we have some degree of certainty about the weather. Now, that could change over time if the game grows in popularity here the way we hope it does. Here being England." Close quote. The only places where it would be viable to really play MLB anywhere outside the United States would be, let me see, Japan, Puerto Rico, even though Puerto Rico is a United States territory, but it's outside the contiguous 48, and not in the same places as Toronto in Canada as well. Dominican Republic. Let me see. What's another place? Oh, yes, in Cuba. But of course, you can't play there because it's politically a no-no to do so. Oh, yeah, you can play in South America. Probably, Colombia, Venezuela. Oh, but Colombia, you have to concern yourself with safety there. I forgot about that. Take care of the league here. It will be different if you were as successful as, say, the NFL was in the 1980s when you had Pete Rozelle look across the pond and say, the possibility of expanding our game is here because the game was starting to grow by leaps and bounds here. Now, you could have said this back in the 60s, maybe even the 70s, because the game was growing by leaps and bounds then. In the 80s, it sort of plateaued. It maintained having its power, but it plateaued. Then it dipped when you struck and when the players performed a strike in 94. Then it shot up in 1998 with the home run chase of Sosa and McGuire, and then it dipped considerably and precipitously because now not just a certain era, but the sport now has an asterisk on it, and now you're just picking up the pieces from that debacle. And we're talking 20 years ago. So now you're thinking about expansion and you're thinking about expanding your fan base. Expand your fan base here. Do that first. Strengthen here. Strengthen the fan base of the United States. Strengthen the fan base of Canada because you used to have 2 teams that played in Canada. Now you only have 1. Strengthen that first before you look to more horizons and better horizons. Guaranteed you'll be in a better place and a better spot if you did, but I forget. I'm talking to a brick wall when it comes to Rob Manfred. Look, memo to the owners as well of this. Solidify your territory in the United States first before you want to expand MLB elsewhere. Because it will not matter where you decide to have these wonderful games be hosted if the product is shoddy and you all do not have the wherewithal to support it. I don't want that for you, and I don't want that for the sport that I grew to love and followed before any other when I came on this earth. Make this right and stop promoting the product elsewhere without promoting it better here first. Cole Johnson, Cole Sportz, Cole Sportz with a Z at gmail.com. From the Vault is next.
You're listening to the classiest sports show on the planet. Cole Sportz! From the Vault, a look back at a key moment in sports history.
June 28th, 1988. Now, coming off of his wonderful 91-second beatdown of Michael Spinks to retain his World Heavyweight Championship and undefeated ranking and undefeated record, heavyweight champion of the world at the time, Mike Tyson, decided to take care of business away from the ring as he filed a lawsuit against his then current manager, Bill Cayton. Now, Cayton was served these papers minutes before that bout against Spinks, and he said, quote, "I'm disappointed and outraged. I never thought Mike would file a lawsuit against me." Close quote. Now, in the suit, Tyson said that he would never have signed a contract allowing Cayton to take over his business affairs had he had known his manager, Jimmy Jacobs, that was before Cayton, was dying. Now, Jimmy Jacobs died, of course, earlier that year, and the transfer of managerial duties went from Jacobs to Cayton. Of course, this also led to the coming in of Don King, and then the downfall of Mike Tyson began. Pains me to say that, because it didn't take but 2 years after that. In fact, in February of 1990, that undefeated streak and the impenetrable and least vulnerable and the most impenetrable boxer of all time and the most intimidating boxer of all time fell to a Tokyo Dome canvas in the 10th round to Buster Douglas. Mike Tyson sues his manager, Bill Cayton, to get out of his contract and be free on this date in 1988.
From the Vault, brought to you by Cole Sportz. This is a journey into crime. A podcast journey that tells the stories of those long forgotten or those easy to remember. We go on a journey that reveals mystery, intrigue, and offers more twists and turns than a country highway. We have looked over cases, we've combed over evidence and testimony, yet we still are left with no answers. Sometimes, in order to get a deeper understanding of something, you must return to view. Now available for download for subscribers only. Each episode premieres only on the USA Today network. Join now for just $1 to receive premium content like Return to View. That's $1 to become a subscriber and a Return to View loyal listener. Alicia.
You can't hold somebody to that standard if you haven't voiced what you want and what you're needing from that.
Mika.
If you're not communicating expectations, you're waiting for your feelings to be hurt.
Nicole.
A lot of people don't want to take the time out to be alone and to get themselves together.
Ivan.
You got to be willing to work through stuff. And from the jump street, y'all done had problems. Maybe you don't need to be working through those.
BS3 Network proudly presents Queen 3 and King podcast. Live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central.
Welcome back to Cole Sportz. Cole Johnson here. And since I'm here, that means the VIPs are here. So back to the VIP zone we head. And you already know the deal. Oh, man. Ryan McCarthy, he starts off and he says, "Hey, cool. I'm recruiting New Jersey Devils fans. Jump on the bandwagon, my friend." Oh, Lord. I just love it. My VIPs are recruiting. I love that. Cool says, talking about Brandon Graham, says, at least he's not acting like Debo. True. Good point. I can't argue with that. Cool says, hockey is all LA Kings for him. Ryan says, look, I got to tip my hat then for the pickup of Pierre-Luc Dubois. And Cool, loving that. He says, look, I do need a Jets guy, though, for my matchup show. Interested? And, of course, this is actually a valid point because Mr. McCarthy is a Jets fan. But I'm not going to touch Mr. Ayahuasca right now. Ryan says, look, don't forget Mexico and Taiwan, talking about me in MLB want to expand. Yes. Mexico is a strong suit of a place, and yes, Taiwan is as well. But still. No, Victor says it best. Take care of your own backyard first before you go landscaping someone else's. That's where I am with that. David 3000, who we broadcast on their network as well, he says hello to you too, sir. And in the from the vault segment, Ryan says Tyson signing with Don King was the best thing for him financially, which is true. But the worst thing for his character at the time, which is even truer. And that's why I went. So I'm like, yeah, I knew he was going to be I knew he was going to be wealthy. It just sucked that I knew that Don King was going to be the succubus that he was, and he did suck the life out of Mike Tyson and changed him from the fighter that we loved and feared even to a fighter that everybody and their mama who didn't fear him could beat. And I did not like that for him. And that sucked to see him then after that be in the boxing ring. Well, again, thank you to my VIPs. It is wonderful to have wonderful, entertaining, and an intellectual conversation with fans who love sports like I do. And now it's time to award the Dolt of the Week. Dolt of the Week is sponsored by nobody. The winner of this episode's Dolt of the Week is the commissioner of Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred. Now, you're probably saying to me, Cole, you just talked to him and raked him over the coals about wanting to reduce the regular season from 162 to 154 games. Why are you talking about him again? Well, it's because he decided to put all of his extremities in his mouth. His feet, his feet, his legs, his arms. Heck, if he could shove his neck in his mouth, he would. In being confronted with how he handled the sign stealing scandal. Now, when asked that question, Mr. Manfred said that if he could do it all over again, he would not have, or he may not have, granted immunity to the Houston Astros players while investigating the team's sign stealing scandal. Now, Manfred oversaw MLB's investigation that confirmed that the Astros stole signs with banned electronics en route to their 2017 World Series title, a title that the league did not strip them from or of. Manager at the time, A.G. Hinch, and general manager Jeff Luhnow were fired. Actually, they were handed pink slips. I'm sorry, they were handed a year-long suspensions before they got the pink slips. And the team also got, or actually the team owner, Jim Crane, got slapped on the wrist and had to pay a fine as well. Along with it as well was the former Astros bench coach, Alex Cora, who went onward to go to the Boston Red Sox and lead them to a World Series title. And he, too, was summarily dismissed. The Astros players, though, they were granted immunity throughout the probe. Now, that was a decision that peeved players, fans, and purists alike when the discipline was issued in January before the pandemic. Now, during this interview with Time Magazine, which was published earlier in the week, was published last week, Manfred said that it was probably not his best decision ever. And he went onward to say the following. Quote, I'm not sure that I would have approached it with giving players immunity. Once we gave players immunity, it puts you in a box as to what exactly you were going to do in terms of punishment. I might have gone about the investigative process without that grant of immunity and see where it would take us. Starting with, I'm not going to punish anybody. Maybe not my best decision ever. Close quote.
You for real.
All right. Before I continue, yes, I am an Astros fan. Yes, I'm proud of it. Yes, I have followed the team long before they started to win World Series. In fact, I started to follow the team before they went to the World Series. That first was in 2005. I was a fan of the team 25 years before their first World Series appearance. So I've been a fan of the team a long time. So this comes with knowing how his decision benefited my team. You, Mr. Manfred, screwed up royally. Look, I may love my team, and I may love the fact that they really didn't really hiccup after the suspensions and the punishment was levied under the team, because starting in 2016, they made the playoffs. Then 2017, they won it all. 2018, they went to the ALCS. 2019, they went to the World Series. 2020, they went to the ALCS again. 2021, they went to the World Series again. And then last year, they won it all again. Of course, as a fan, I'm happy about that. However, I do not, have not, and I will not ever like the fact that I know these players benefited from cheating in order to do it. And you aided the Astros to become public enemy number one when it comes to the rest of Major League Baseball. Now, I probably will say I'm an Astros fan and would care less if people booed me because of it. Fine. I don't care about that. What I don't like is the fact that you could have put that bow on and you could have actually punished the people responsible. It makes people think that the investigation that you levied didn't mean a thing. That whatever investigation that you said you levied, it produced no results. Because if you're going to basically say, well, hey, it's the managers, general managers, and the owner's fault, and the bench coach's fault. Oh, and along with it, yes, the one who actually came with the idea, Carlos Beltran, who also was a player on the team, basically player coach, really. You punish them except for Beltran. He was going to be the manager of the Mets, and he voluntarily retired. I should say voluntarily fired himself, I should say, or resigned before he even got a chance to coach a pitch for the Mets. Now he's with the Yankees organization. You screwed up. It's just that simple. You screwed up. And this is coming from an Astros fan. You screwed up, Manfred. Investigations are supposed to produce the result of, here are these guilty parties or here are these innocent parties. And the reason we can say either is these are the results that it uncovered. If you're saying that you feel as though the players are culpable, but you didn't punish them, guess who's at fault for that? Not any of the fans, not any of the players. It's you. You dropped the ball, sir. You screwed the pooch. You did not do what you're supposed to do as a commissioner, and that's protect the game. That out of all the things that you're supposed to do, yes, make money for the owners and find other ways to generate revenue for the game, and be and be the go-between with the owners and the players. The thing you're supposed to do the most is be the greatest caretaker of the game. And in that situation, you weren't. In that situation, you were the worst caretaker of it. In fact, it's to the point where I would want Bud Selig to still be commissioner of the game. And Bud Selig was a horrible commissioner. In fact, he was a biased one. But I'd rather him in your seat than you, because you, sir, produce no backbone. And as a commissioner, that's something you should have. Unfortunately, that is something you do not have. And as I said, this is coming from an Astros fan. You should have punished the players, period. You should have come down on the Astros harder. It's just that simple and cut and dried. Because if the players were culpable for this too, immunity should not have been granted to them. They should have paid the price, just like the manager, just like the general manager, and just like the owner did. But you wanted to have your hands washed clean. You said your investigation produced all these results. Well, it looks like your investigation produced bupkis. And so you should be proud of yourself, because here you are 3 years removed from this ruling. And you went to Time Magazine and said, yeah, it probably wasn't the best decision I ever made. No, it's this type of decision, and you got to live with it the rest of your life, Mr. Manfred. One more break in. When we come back, who are the hottest free agents in the upcoming 2023 offseason from the NBA? We will discuss that right after this.
To do a TED Talk, but I don't have anything to talk about yet. I'm getting there.
Life is for the living. We're not here that long.
You can learn anything you want to learn without any money spent.
What do I really enjoy? What do I really want out of life?
I am your host, WIZE.
Are you in a life holding pattern? Well, this is for you. Welcome to the Stuck in My Mind podcast. This is a BS3 Network presentation.
I want to show that attainability. I want to show the accessibility of this kind of lifestyle.
From social media to having conversations with friends and family, you always have to put on face and say face.
What brings a smile to my face is the one person that totally believes in me, and that's my beautiful wife, Jody.
I just had to stop because I didn't value myself. I didn't love myself. And it's like, I have to learn to love myself.
Changing the world one conversation at a time. This is Revelations.
We here at Cole Sportz wish you a happy July 4th holiday weekend and middle of the week. as of course July 4th is on a Tuesday, next Tuesday actually. So we wish you all a wonderful, happy Independence Day, and we will be back the day after, putting forth the same funk as we always do. And next week we'll probably cover something along the lines of MLB ahead of the All-Star game. Of course, we're going to fire off an email, go in on the topic, and of course award another Dolt of the Week. And people who are not dolts, and I'm happy to have them, back to the VIP zone we go. And Cool McCain, he says, look, say less. Oh, man. Talking about Ryan McCarthy reaching out to him and vice versa. And Victor Locke says, and now Stupid University presents Dolt of the Week. Cool says, yeah, sad what happened to Iron Mike. Yeah. And we were seeing the slow disintegration of him when that started, and it was painful to watch. Ryan says, Dolt of the Week is brought to you by Stupid University. Stupid University, where everyone is left back. Antonio Brown, ignominious emeritus. Victor, in seeing that Rob Manfred won this week's Dolt of the Week, says, didn't he win last week too? No, sir, he did not. Antonio Clown won it last week, because this article was actually that I pulled it from, was produced after last week's episode was aired. A new VIP member, new family member, Godfather Dom, aka Dominic Williams. Hello to you, my man. I hope everything is good. You're gonna enjoy this family, brother. You will not be disappointed. And thank you for coming on to Cole Sportz. I hope you enjoy what you hear and see. Cool says, look, Patriots fans don't care. Hashtag shots fired. No, they don't. They got 7 rings. That's all that matters to them. Yeah. And they went through 2 scandals, and it doesn't faze them one bit. You know, I mean, and I will say the same thing to them. I was saying the same thing about the Patriots I do about the Astros. Look, if you really were serious and you felt as though the players were culpable, punish them too. If you're not gonna punish them, shut up about, well, you should have dealt a heavier hand or not. Forget it. It's done. You messed up. Speaking of which, Snowman says, look, hashtag Manfred sucks. Hashtag moving on. Cool says, we need a rendition from the Wonder Bread Choir. I might introduce that into Cole Sportz. I think that's a good one. And he says, and they should be titled, Oh, My Brother, Testify. Oh, channeling Devon Dudley of 3D / Dudley Boys fame in wrestling. Multiple time world tag team champs they were. Victor says, oh, my bad, Cole. He said, that's right. Dom says, I definitely will, Cole, and I'm enjoying Is everything good? Everything is good, man. Everything's wonderful. You're part of why everything's good for me. And I'm glad you're enjoying it, brother. I hope this is not the last. I think you'll enjoy it. Come back here every time, 4 Eastern, 3 Central, every Wednesday. I got more of this for you. And as I said, you are the most important aspect of it. All of you in the VIP zone. Thank you for that. And now we will touch on the NBA free agency period. Now, it gets hot and heavy on the 30th. And who are the names that are going to move to places? And who are the names you're saying, Well, it's time for me to go in. So the draft is done. Victor Wembanyama's had his pictures and his photo ops with the Spurs. Brandon Miller, he now is drafted with the Hornets and decided to drop that Paul George is the greatest player of all time. Yes, I am not drunk. That's exactly what he said. And some trades have been made in lieu of that as well. So that period is over. Now it's time for the most unpredictable times on the sports calendar year, which is the free agency of the National Basketball Association. Now, it officially begins 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. On the Pacific Coast this Friday, when players and teams will be allowed to officially negotiate deals on their own behalf. Unrestricted free agents, easy for me to say, will be able to sign with any team, and restricted teams can sign with anybody, but the player's original team can choose to match any offer and retain the player. Everyone will be chasing the defending world champion Nuggets, who, well, they do have a key player that will enter free agency. I'll touch on that in a moment. Players from Draymond Green to Austin Reeves to Kyrie Irving to James Harden. Here's how it's all going to break down. Now, Kyrie probably is going to be considered the most coveted free agent. Why? I have no earthly idea. I mean, yes, you could say, well, by stats alone, I get it. 27 points, 6 assists, 5 boards. Came this close to the 50-40-90 club. But you all have to know that you're getting headaches and problems off the court along with the prodigious talent that people keep raving about on it. You have to deal with that, and you have to be saddled and at home with it, knowing that at any moment he can say, I'm out. That's what the Cavaliers had to find out. That's what the Celtics had to find out. That's what the Nets had to find out. And that, unfortunately for the Mavericks, they haven't found it out in its totality yet. But they may, should he continue to be a Maverick and he resigns with them. Then you have James Harden. He's an unrestricted free agent, and there was feelers that he put out that he wanted to come back to Houston because he loves the city and he wants to basically visit all of the strip clubs that are in the city. And no, that is not a joke. The problem that I foresee with that is Harden would not benefit this young team. They need to have a veteran who actually gives a crap about playing, because all Harden cares about is dominating the ball and scoring and being the number one option on the team. And the reason why he's entertaining offers elsewhere is because with the Sixers, he now knows he definitely will not be the number one option there. And he should not be, because he shouldn't even be the number 2 option. Joel Embiid, and look, new head coach of the Sixers, Nick Nurse. Put Embiid in the post and tell him if he inches out of that post anytime before the third quarter, you fine him. Do something to encourage him to rule the block, rule the low block. Do something to motivate him to be a ruler of the low blocks, a ruler of the post. Something. He's your number 1 option in Philly. Tyrese Maxey's your number 2 option. But you have to not treat him as a throwaway, which they are, because for some reason they think Tobias Harris is an option. Don't get me started. Then you have Fred VanVleet. Now, some may say who, and we all said who until the 2019 NBA playoffs, and definitely in the NBA finals of that year. Now, he had a year last year, 19 points, 7 dimes, and 4 boards. But he would have to be brought onto a team that probably needs to have him for more than just what he could contribute on the court. It would have to be, he has to be a stabilizing presence, similar to like what Marcus Smart is being traded from Boston to Memphis in exchange for many other players, as Kristaps Porzingis went from Washington, the Wizards, to the Celtics in a 3-team trade. Then you have Chris Middleton, who might be the most important cog, not best, most important cog with the Bucks. Now, after that ring in 2021, he's coming off an injury-plagued season. And last year, he missed 49 games with the career lows in many different categories: in field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, and points per game. He only scored 15. And that's the lowest for him 8 years. I would have to say I'm thinking the Bucks are looking for some way to re-sign him, but they got to pray that he can probably give them a hometown discount. Because they're going to try at all costs to keep Giannis Antetokounmpo. So you already know that. Middleton is too important. He was important when they won it all in 2021. He is still important now. And if he can find a way to stay healthy, which the last 2 years that has been an issue, the Bucks can go further because Giannis cannot do this by himself. Now, people can say, well, that means that Giannis sucks. No, it just means that Giannis is a wonderful player who he's playing a team sport. Then you got Draymond Green. In this case, yes, he's an unrestricted free agent, but I think I think what he's doing is he and Mike Dunleavy, the new general manager of the Warriors, they had a conversation before he officially filed free agency papers. And they probably said, okay, I want to test the market. I want to see what I'm worth. And whatever deal is out there, I would want you to match it. And I think that's the type of deal that, to me, that's hush-hush that they struck. Because I personally do not see Green playing for any other team but the Warriors, because to me, he doesn't fit anywhere else but there. And that's not a mark against him as a player. His role is too important in my opinion, for him to just simply be off the team. Especially off the team that provided him 4 rings. And he probably thinks that they can win another one at least. Then you got the Bulls center, Nikola Vucevic. Now, he is one of the most skilled big men when he wants to play, which I think that is what's going to be a problem, along with the fact that he's just as old as Green is, which is 33. So I think that, yes, he probably will command attention, but I think he'll have to command attention to a playoff contender that needs him, like the Warriors, that just have a glaring hole in the paint, like the Warriors, like the Kings, because to me, those two teams are far too small to compete for a ring. They need to have some big, and they need to at least have a couple of bigs, in my opinion, in order to actually stand out and do something. To me, Warriors or Kings or Heat, teams that just are small, and they need to have a big presence somewhere on the team. He doesn't have to be the number one scorer, but at least he can affect shots defensively, and he can give you a few easy buckets offensively, like a Brook Lopez type. Then you have forward Jeremy Grant, who is an unrestricted free agent. Look, you get 20 points, and you still get a guy who's under 30. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to be blunt. If the Blazers are serious about wanting to say, well, you know what, Damian, we are Lillard. Damian, we are a serious title contender, and we want to build a championship because we want you to win a ring here. They got to keep him. They got to keep a player like Grant. Because, yes, you have Scoop Henderson who's going to be on the team. Yes. But he has to learn how to be that player. He's not there yet. And if Lillard is going to be the loyal soldier that he has always been, he's going to need to have other soldiers who are as loyal and as strong in scoring as he is to help him out. Grant is that guy. But if the Blazers aren't serious, then you're wasting Lillard's time. Kyle Kuzma. Now, earlier in the month, he said he was going to be an unrestricted free agent. He'll get to test the market for the first time in his career. 21 points. I think it's the first time in his career he's gone over 20 points for a season. 7 boards and 4 dimes. He now, I think, has found his game in DC. And it will be whoever's going to be the highest bidder for him. And I've heard rumblings saying that he might go back to LA with the Lakers. I don't want him to go back there because I think he will be poisoned again like he was when he left 3 years ago, even though he has a ring, dealing with, well, you know who. And speaking of dealing with you know who, Austin Reeves, who's a restricted free agent, he signed a 2-year deal worth under $2.5 million. And he worked his way into a prominent role. In fact, to me, he was the second most important player in that playoff push that the Lakers had in 2023. He was the third leading scorer, just under 17 points per game, best free throwing shooter on the team at over 44%. And he had the best plus minus for the team at plus 73. So I think the Lakers will keep him. And the reason why I say that, you have probably the biggest supporter on the team who is the most important player. Most important cog on it at the moment, which is LeBron James, who will say, we need to have him, keep him at all costs. And right now, the Lakers are doing LeBron's bidding. They will keep him. Josh Hart, he's an unrestricted free agent, a guard from the Knicks. I'm hearing my brother Wise in my head, who's a huge Knicks fan. He raved about him continuously all throughout this past winter. He has a $12.9 million player option for next year. But becoming a free agent and signing a long-term deal that provides security will make sense for him now that he has played 6 years in the league. Now, he did have big moments in the playoffs with the Knicks, but it was more in the first round against the Cavs, not necessarily the second round against the Heat, where he sort of disappeared. But many players on the Knicks disappeared in the conference semifinals. Hart is best served being a Knick. He could probably do what he does anywhere, but you got Jalen Brunson, who I think will help him be the player that he can be. And I'd say he should shoot for $6 million a year for the Knicks. That's what I believe. Going back to the Lakers, D'Angelo Russell, 18 points, 6 dimes. Good for anybody on that team. That's not Anthony Davis or LeBron James, but that was the regular season. The playoffs, it was so bad he got put to the bench by Darvin Ham. And here's the thing. So D'Angelo can be a dynamic scorer. Sometimes he can light up for 30, 35 if he is motivated. But he can sometimes just disappear and look disinterested on the court. So you just don't know which D'Angelo Russell is going to show up, which means I don't think he's going to be on the Lakers for much longer. Now, if he does resign, it will be for a much reduced rate than what he's looking for. But I feel for him. And then you have Brook Lopez, who he's an unrestricted free agent, last playing for the Bucks. He's 34. He's showing no signs of slowing down. And he actually averaged his highest points per game total in 8 years. And to me, what's even more important, he finished second in Defensive Player of the Year voting. Now, what Lopez can bring is that experience with a ring. And it can be useful on any team. Like I mentioned before, the Kings can use him. The Warriors can use him. The Heat can use him. Let me see. What's another team that could use his services right now? The Suns can use him. I mean, any team that basically has a whole ton of smalls and very few on the bigs would benefit from having a Brook Lopez or even a Nikola Vucevic type to be on the court, because they need to have a defensive deterrent and they need to find ways to score easy buckets that doesn't rely on if the perimeter shooter is burning up from 3. Now, he made $13.9 million last year, and yes, he is due for a raise. And yes, there are others, including Bruce Brown, who is an unrestricted free agent. I'm probably going to make Cool very happy, Cool McCain, who's a huge Nuggets fan. He signed a team-friendly 2-year, $13.2 million contract last year, but he had a play option for this year. And if he does become a free agent, he's due for a bigger deal based on what he did this past season in leading, or I should say, in helping the Nuggets to get their first ring in their 47-year history of being a National Basketball Association team. Now, in the playoffs, he averaged 12 points and shot over 50% from the field, which that's pretty good for a guy off the bench. Now, when he was on the court, the Nuggets held opponents to just 107.6 points per 100 possessions. That's number 2 on the reigning champions behind Aaron Gordon. Now, the way I see it, I don't see Brown going anywhere. I think, again, this is like Draymond Green, but I believe Brown had a conversation with the Nuggets brass and said, okay, here's the deal. Test the free agent market, see what you can get, and we'll try to match that deal as close as we can. Heck, and if it's low, and if it's comfortable enough for us, we'll even exceed that deal and blow it out the water. So to me, I think that is what matters. We got to see if the fit is perfect for all of these free agents that's coming, but guaranteed in the next, well, besides tomorrow, starting Friday, Saturday, Sunday into Monday, Tuesday, and probably even next Wednesday for the next week, we'll be having our minds blown saying they signed where? They paid how much? Wow. Get ready for that, because that's what the NBA is excited for. If they can't pull the numbers on the court, they definitely could do it in the boardroom. And that's what we're going to see a lot of. So congratulations to all the free agents to be. You're all about to get that bag. To the VIP zone one last time. Totally appreciate that. Totally appreciate you. Cool McCain, like I said, Nuggets fan extraordinaire. He says, Bruce, don't leave us, Bruce. Please stay with us. Nah, Bruce Brown. Nah, Bruce Brown. I think he's not going to leave. I can't see pitch. Seriously, Cool. Picture him on any other team versus how he fits with the Nuggets. Can you really see him playing anywhere else? I really can't. Godfather Dom says, look, I'm heading out. It's great meeting you today, and have a great day. God bless, and I will see you soon. God bless you too, sir. I hope everything's good with you, and come on back, brother. Rod West of Rod Uncensored. Good to see you, brother. He says, look, my Lakers will dethrone the Nuggets next season. Oh, I would love to say they could, man, but the Lakers are getting older and the Nuggets are getting better, considering Jokic is only 28 and he's the oldest player on the team. I would love to say they are, but I just don't see it for the Lakers. I want to try to see it. I just can't, man. I can't picture it. But thank you, guys. VIP Zone, you all are the ones that make this show shine. And I appreciate all of you. Now, if you feel led to donate to this program, go to cash.app/$host Cole Johnson. That's cash.app/$host Cole Johnson. And thank you for liking, for sharing, for subscribing, for hitting that notification bell, for getting all of what emanates from this channel. I appreciate you and I love you, VIPs, because I do this for you. For all of us here at Cole Sportz, I am Cole Johnson, and this is...
Thank you for tuning in to Cole Sportz. To download this episode, go to Spreaker and type Cole Sportz with a Z. For apparel, Go to Spring and type Cole Sportz VIP Boutique. That's with a Z. To reach Cole Johnson, go to flowcode.com/page/host Cole Johnson. This has been a Comey Media Incorporated presentation.